so hope I make it through. Okay. Well, we will have some folks coming in yet and joining us, but we are going to get started with our presentation. Thank you all for coming tonight to this I-229, 26th Street and Southeastern Avenue Reconstruction Project, Public Open House number 6. My name is James Unruh, and I'm with HDR Engineering, part of the design team that did this project. And just as a little note, all of these folks here from about 7 different entities were part of the overall project. By the way, the screen is a bit small in proportion to the size of the room. What you see on the screen will also be on the city's website. So if you don't see something here, you can go to the city's website and you will see the pictures there. Okay, a couple of things I want to touch on. All of these people here, I think we all feel like this has been a privilege to be part of a significant project like this. We actually started the project way back in 2012, where we started the planning process. That's a long time ago, and yet each step along the way has gone according to schedule, and we really have not been behind schedule on anything. To give you an idea of how long ago that was, in 2012 when we started the project, I had few, if any, gray hair. And now, ouch. My kids tell me that I look more distinguished and mature. My wife says I just look old now. But whether it was just the time factor or the stress of the project, I don't know. But like I say, it's been a privilege to be part of this type of project. We had our first public meeting in July of 2012, and I would like to ask, were there any of you here tonight that were in at that very first public meeting in July? We have a few takers on that. Yes, thank you very much. And then we had our last public meeting, number 5, was in May of 2016. So we are now on public meeting number 6. Was there anyone here that was at all of the previous 5 public meetings? Yes, we have some takers. Thank you very much for being part of this process. And by the way, we do have viewers on Facebook Live to see the presentation tonight as well. So what are we going to do here tonight? Our open house purpose is to show you some things. We're going to show you, first of all, what the project will look like when it's completed. We had that scrolling slideshow that went on before the presentation. We'll bring that up again after the presentation, and that had a number of slides that showed what the project will look like when it's done. I will go through some of those in the presentation as well, but we'll have that slideshow going up after the presentation. You can sit down and watch some more pictures of what this project will look like when it's completed. We will also show you how the project will be built in the sense of what will be taking place and when. I'll make it just very brief and very simple, but I think you will find that very interesting. And then what will affect all of you the most, how can you travel in the area during construction? There hasn't been much impact to anyone or effect on anyone from this project yet. In about 3 weeks, there will be an impact on all of you, all of us, as we drive the roads in this area. At the end, we'll have a time to answer general questions about the project. And then if you have any very specific questions, we have some displays set up in the lobby, and we would ask you to ask those specific questions to the folks that are out there. We'll set those up during the presentation, but take time to go and ask the folks that are out there in the lobby after the presentation. Here we have our project area, and just a couple of highlights here. 26th Street is going across the screen right to left, and we're looking south on I-229. Here is Cliff Avenue on the right side of the screen, Southeastern Avenue on the left side of the screen, and we are all sitting here tonight now in this Lincoln High School auditorium. This area here, Rotary Park, when these pictures were taken, that was a kind of a wild tree area. What you saw last year was all of those trees being cut down and a parking lot and some buildings going up. We didn't quite get all of the playground features finished last year, but we will get that done early this year. The reason for that new Rotary Park was that the old entrance to Rotary Park, right here, when we raise up 26th Street, that entrance to the existing Rotary Park will be cut off, and there will be no way to get to it. So we have Rotary Park over here, and many of you saw this pedestrian bridge going across the Big Sioux River, right about in that area, and that will connect the new Rotary Park with the old Rotary Park. So you saw some work being done last year, and I should say, can everyone hear me with the microphone here? Maybe the screen is a bit small, but hopefully you can at least hear me. Okay. Hang on a second. And we're going to go now to some animations. This is the interchange. Looking now towards the north with I-229 to the north, 26th Street going across your screen like this. This is what it looks like today. Way back in 2012, 2013, we considered up to 20 different options for improving this interchange and making it a safe and traffic efficient interchange. And I'm going to show you one of the animations that we did in 2014. And I'll start this. It'll come right up here. Okay, this is an animation of what the interchange will look like when it's completed, and I will stop this partway in and give some key points. All right, so we're looking, this is pretty much toward the northeast. This direction here is 26th Street. Some things I want to point out. Yeager Road now connects to 26th Street. When we are done, Yeager Road will be curved around and will connect to 26th Street over here across from Frederick Drive. The I-229 ramps will connect to 26th Street where Yeager Road is now. If you are traveling south on I-229 and want to get onto 26th Street, you'll come around this loop, and this loop will then connect to 26th Street. If you want to go east on 26th Street, you'll have your own lane all the way over to Southeastern Avenue. So you see 3 lanes on 26th Street going over to Southeastern Avenue. When you want to get onto I-229, you'll get on the ramp here and you'll get directly onto I-229. You will not have to turn again at Yeager Road like you do now. I'm going to let this continue to run here. And this other scenario that you're going to see is essentially the same thing, but just from a slightly different perspective. And the one thing I want to point out here is this intersection, significantly larger than the existing intersection. And you can see here we've got 2 lanes on 26th Street, 2 through lanes, and then we have dual left turn lanes getting onto the interstate here. So we will dramatically improve the capacity of 26th Street with this project. And just gives you a bit of a different view. Now you're looking towards the southwest, but gives you kind of a good perspective of what this will look like when it's done. Quite a bit different from what it looks like now. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next slide. This is the 26th Street and Southeastern Avenue intersection. We considered up to 6 different options for how to improve this intersection. And the one difference from the animation here, from the 2014 animation, is that there are townhouses here, and those townhouses will remain. The Southeastern Avenue Dental Building and the Headhunter Stylist Salon, those have been removed, as you have all seen. So we're going to start this and just let it run, and that will show you what this will look like when it's finished. A very dramatic difference from what it looks like now. And I'll do just a couple of comments as we go around. Again, these animations really helped people and all of us on the design team just understand what it would look like. Here we're looking on Southeastern Avenue to the south. Here's the railroad tracks, and here's the bridge over the railroad tracks. We'll have dual left turn lanes on Southeastern Avenue and four through lanes, 2 lanes in each direction on Southeastern Avenue. Here we're looking west on 26th Street, and not much capacity increase over here. That will stay the same on the east side of Southeastern Avenue. Now we're looking north on Southeastern Avenue. Here's 26th Street. Dual left turn lanes here to get onto 26th Street. That movement backs up every day, as all of you are aware. And notice the nice wide sidewalks along the sides of the streets. Another marked improvement for this area. But unless we had these types of animations, very difficult to comprehend what this would look like when we're done. All right, we're going to move on to the next slide here. You saw the red coloring on those walls in the animation. Well, since then we've done some additional work, and what you see here, these gray colored walls, is what will actually be built. More of a concrete color, and we're going to use a wave pattern on these walls to match in with the setting of the park system, with the Big Sioux River, and with the Big Sioux River Trail. And these aesthetic treatments were developed with coordination with the City Fine Arts, City Visual Arts Commission. So we had quite a bit of input on how to make these things look very nice. Here's a slide looking underneath the new bridge. This is looking towards the new Rotary Park. Here is the pedestrian bridge going across the Big Sioux River. On the bridge pier, there will actually be numbers, red numbers, that will tell canoers and kayakers that if the river level gets up to one of those, you probably want to get out of your canoe or kayak and walk around that bridge. Although I'm sure there will be many people that try to scoot underneath the new pedestrian bridge. Here we are looking underneath the new bridge towards the northeast, and here is that big retaining wall along Southeastern Avenue that you saw. Here's the Big Sioux River. And again, we went with a concrete color and a wave pattern on, for example, the edges of the bridges and on these bridge piers. We think that will also be very pleasing to look at. And again, this was developed in coordination with the City Visual Arts Commission. Now, that showed you what it's going to look like when we're done. Let's touch just a bit on how it will be built. We have a construction sequencing map here. You actually have that in one of your handouts, so you can look at that when you leave tonight. But this is phase 1A, and it will actually extend from April to July 2019. So this is coming up very soon. And the July timeframe is somewhat approximate, but in that timeframe. What you see in pink here, that's what's under construction during this time period. And these boxes indicate what the lanes will be like at each of these main intersections. Here is the intersection with essentially Yeager Road now. Here's the northbound ramps, and here's Southeastern Avenue. And these boxes are to indicate what the lane configuration will be. Just want to point out some things. Again, I apologize for the small screen, somewhat hard to read, but we will keep 2 lanes of traffic open on 26th Street throughout the construction. Southeastern Avenue north of 26th Street up here will remain open during this phase 1A. The west ramps that connect now to Yeager Road will also remain open. And we will be building, as you see here, the south side of 26th Street, essentially widening out to the south side. We will also be building this northbound on and off ramp, but we will maintain 2 lanes of traffic on that. And that's really for the people coming off of I-229. As you know, this movement backs up onto the ramp, onto I-229 nearly every day. So we're actually going to make 2 right turn lanes to go east on 26th Street. And we will also be building a new access from the ramp to the Cliff Avenue greenhouse site. And we will maintain the existing access over here to the Cliff Avenue greenhouse site during this Phase 1A. What happens on Southeastern Avenue to the south is that we will be closing it. It will be closed to Klondike Trail right over here. And then all the way down to 49th Street, the city will be doing a project that involves some sanitary sewer work and overlaying the existing pavement, and 2 lanes will remain open and 2 lanes will be closed on Southeastern Avenue all the way down to 49th Street. It was an opportune time to do these projects together while traffic is impacted all just in one year. Notice here there's no left turns going onto this ramp, so that will be a traffic impact. And also, I said that there's 2 right turn lanes coming off of the ramp, and they will merge very quickly to 1 lane going east. We recognize that will be a constraint for traffic and probably a site of congestion. Let's go to 1B. Similar, the only thing different here is that what's in gray is what has been completed now. Again, you have this in your handout, and this will extend from approximately the July timeframe to the end of the 2019 construction season, probably November 30th, depending on weather. And again, we will keep 2 lanes of traffic open on 26th Street, 1 lane in each direction. Southeastern Avenue north of 26th Street will remain open to traffic. Now the west ramps will be closed off, and Yeager Road will also be closed off for construction. And we will continue to build the south half of 26th Street. But the east ramps will be completed, and we'll also have the new entrance to Cliff Avenue Greenhouse completed by that time. Then we will close the YMCA and the other Cliff Avenue Greenhouse entrance, and YMCA will shut down their operations after September 15th, so all access to the YMCA day camp will end after September 15th. And again, Southeastern Avenue will be closed down to Klondike Trail, and then just 2 lanes of traffic all the way down to 49th Street. And again, no left turns, even though this ramp will be open. The congestion just is not going to allow us to allow left turns from 26th Street westbound onto the ramp. And again, those 2 right turn lanes will merge relatively quickly to 1 lane. Then in year 2, so we call this phase 2, again, this is part of the handout that you received. This will be from the April to November of 2020 timeframe, 2nd year of construction. Now all of the lanes, the new lanes on 26th Street will be open, and we will keep 26th Street open to 2 lanes of traffic, 1 lane in each direction. This will now be on the new lanes and on the new bridge over the Big Sioux River and over the railroad tracks. And all of the ramps will be open. So this will be a dramatic improvement in traffic conditions from what it was in year 1. We'll be building what you see in pink here, the north half of 26th Street. And now Southeastern Avenue will be open south of 26th Street, but Southeastern Avenue north of 26th Street will be closed to the River Ridge Oral Surgery driveway, right about there. And then north of that, Southeastern Avenue will be closed at least to 2 lanes. We'll only be maintaining 1 lane of traffic in each direction all the way to 18th Street. And during that time, the city will be widening Southeastern Avenue so that when we're done, there will be 4 lanes all the way to 18th Street, all the way from 26th Street to 18th Street. So again, a dramatic increase in capacity on Southeastern Avenue when we are done. Some pain to get there, however. Again, we will not allow left turns at this ramp, And again, the two right turn lanes will merge down relatively quickly. So again, that's going to be a traffic constraint that all of us will have to be aware of. What happens with the bike trail and pedestrians? Here you see a picture looking underneath the existing 26th Street Bridge along the bike trail, looking south along the bike trail. What we are going to be doing is installing a concrete tunnel underneath the existing bridge, and it will extend out quite a ways, actually a 200-foot long tunnel, and it will go through much of the construction zone, much of it. And we will have lights inside of that tunnel, so you'll be able to go through that tunnel and still be able to use the bike path on each side of it. There will, at some times, be short-term closures of the bike trail for critical construction work. And just remember that the bike trail will really be in a construction zone, so for users of the bike trail, walkers, bikers, it will still require quite a bit of caution. We'll have lots of barriers, lots of signs, but it will still require caution by everyone that uses the bike trail. Traffic. This is why we're all here tonight, I think, is to see what happens with traffic. And here you see a picture of 26th Street like you see it pretty much every day. Southeastern Avenue back here, 26th Street right here. Today, there's somewhere between 25 to 28,000 vehicles per day on 26th Street, depending on where you're at, but within our project limits, 25 to 28,000 vehicles per day. On Southeastern Avenue, there's between 8,000 and 12,000 vehicles per day that travel on Southeastern Avenue every day. We have about 3 to 4 trains per day that cross 26th Street. And invariably, it seems like one of those crosses right during the peak traffic periods. I think we're all well aware of that, and we've all sat in that traffic backup that you see on the slide here. That's what we're dealing with. Okay, hopefully you can see this slide. What happens then during construction? Well, 26th Street goes from 4 lanes to 2 lanes during construction. Southeastern Avenue at some point will be closed either north or south of 26th Street. And the railroad tracks will also be making some changes. There will be just 2 lanes crossing the railroad tracks, and there will be arms that drop down from new railroad signals that will be installed. So pretty significant reduction in the amount of traffic that can get through this area. So what do we do? How do we get through this area? All right, this is another handout that you have. This is actually what happens in 2019. What are some alternate traffic routes that all of us can use to get through this area? To illustrate that, I'm going to show you, hopefully you can at least follow my pointer here, but my daughter and her husband live right in this area here. This is at the corner of 49th and Southeastern. And she works at Ide Bailey in downtown Sioux Falls. She really enjoys her commute on Southeastern Avenue going down to Ide Bailey. It's just a nice drive. It's along the river. It's quick. It's 4 lanes. And she said, "Dad, what am I going to do when you close down Southeastern Avenue?" Okay. We're going to show you an example of how you might be able to, how I told her how she might be able to navigate through this area. I said, first of all, what you want to do, and I'll point if you can't see the arrow there, but I suggest getting onto Southeastern Avenue. It'll still be 2 lanes. Take a right turn out of off of your street, the Marson Street, and then take a right turn on 41st Street. There will be a temporary signal installed at Bonson and 41st Street to get more cars through there. And I said, what you want to do then is go over to Sycamore and take a left turn at Sycamore, and then stay on Sycamore, go right through the 26th Street intersection, and then turn left at 10th Street, and then take 10th Street to downtown. Okay, we are all well aware that 10th Street has a lot of traffic on it already, and so we're saying, okay, we're going to put more traffic on it. So I said what you might want to also consider is if 10th Street, if you're having trouble getting through there, you could also turn left on 26th Street here from Sycamore and go over to Southeastern Avenue. Keep in mind, in the first year, Southeastern Avenue will be open north of 26th Street, and I suggested then you'd be back on your old route to get to downtown. For each person that drives this area, there's going to be some uniqueness in where you're coming from and where you are going to. So this is just an illustration of how one person could navigate it. Now, the city is going to be doing some very specific things, and if you can't see these, I will just tell you what they are. First of all, the city will be adjusting the signal timings on these alternate routes. And these alternate routes are the ones that are in blue here. Basically 10th Street on the north side, 57th Street on the south side, Sycamore on the east side, Cliff Avenue on the west side, and I-229 will also remain open. So if you're trying to use the 26th Street interchange and there's ramps that are closed, you can use the 10th Street or Cliff Avenue interchanges instead. But the city will be adjusting the signal timings before the project and during the project on all of these alternate routes to adjust to what the traffic is really looking like out there. The city will also keep these alternate routes construction-free while we will have all this additional 26th Street and Southeastern Avenue traffic on these alternate routes. And then the city will also, you'll see cameras up on some of the poles, and they will actually watch what's happening at each of these intersections, especially in the project area right here where we're working. And they will actually monitor that in real time at City Hall, and then they can actually adjust the signal timings in real time to maybe reduce the delays that people are experiencing. Okay, what can commuters do? And if you can't see that, I'll just go through it here. These are the things that all of us as commuters can do. First of all, like I told my daughter, you will probably have to try various routes. One route might be really blocked up and you might want to try a different route the next day. And it might change through the course of the construction season, so you're going to have to just try different routes. You might want to try various time frames for getting to and from work. That is not an option for everyone, but if that is something that's possible, you might want to consider going on times where the traffic isn't quite as busy. Please keep the speeds down during these times when the roads are, all of these alternate routes are going to have extra traffic on them. How about commuting by bike? As I said, the bike trail will remain open, so that's certainly a possibility, and you won't be fighting vehicle traffic. So that's a possibility as well, certainly when the weather is nice. And finally, we do ask that people be patient. I'm as aware of it as anyone that when you're sitting at a traffic light, 2 minutes seems like the end of the world. There was one signal I thought every time I went through it, it took forever to get through it. And then I timed it one time and it was like a minute and a half. It's like, oh my gosh, that's a very short amount of time, but when you're sitting there, it seems like forever. There will be times when at some of these signalized intersections, it might take 2 cycles, even 3 cycles to get through, and we will just ask for patience. When we're done, this will be a wonderful project, and traffic will move very smoothly through this area and much more safely. But during this 2-year construction period, will be challenged. I think all of us are aware of that. And if you have specific ideas or questions about how to get around the area, we actually have 2 of these display boards set up in the lobby. And then we have 2 gentlemen back there that can direct you. If you give them the place that you're starting from and going to, they can make suggestions for specific alternate routes. Okay, this is a map that you also see. I'll blow the lettering up. A handout that you received, and just some project facts. Again, you're not going to be able to see this due to the size of the screen, but there is a significant investment with this project. $37 million is what the construction cost will be for this project. The city and the South Dakota Department of Transportation are making a very significant investment, an investment that really benefits us and our descendants probably for 1 or 2 generations. Something like this is expected to last 75 to 100 years. So it is something that we want to make it look nice, we want to make it very functional, and we want to make it enjoyable for everyone today and in the 20 to 50 to 75 years, even to 100 years in the future. That being said, we have some people that we want to introduce. The prime contractor is D&G Concrete Construction, and I'm going to ask these folks to come up so that you see a face. And these phone numbers that you see are in your handout as well, so don't worry about seeing it up there. You can look there. But the prime contractor is Greg Branagh of D&G Construction out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Probably most recently, many of you are aware of the Louise Avenue project improvement that D&G Construction did in 2017. And there's some phone numbers there, office phone and cell phone for Greg. Also, Jared Pfaff and Dina Knutson are the project engineers for the South Dakota Department of Transportation and the City of Sioux Falls, respectively. And we would ask you if you have any comments or concerns that you give one of those two a call. Would be the first ones that we would ask you to call. And again, the numbers are in your handout, and you will not be given just a recording unless they aren't there. But we wanted to see that these are real people. These are not just bots or anything like that, that you can call with questions or concerns. Okay, thanks. And yeah, be ready for some calls. And again, we just ask for patience on everyone's part here. You can also sign up for the weekly construction bulletins. And that will look something like this. If you look in your handout, it gives you the website link that you can click onto, and you will be directed to something that looks like this, and then you can give your email address, and then you will be sent a weekly construction update. We will not be sending out like printed versions. It will all be just electronic versions that you will receive by email. And lastly, we will be holding weekly construction meetings, and those will be on Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. At the Cherry Creek Grill in their banquet room, actually in the basement. And to get there, you park in the back and then enter the lower level. So we have lots of opportunities for feedback. The first part of the meetings, starting at 9:30, is specifically has an agenda item for public input. So please feel free to come to those meetings as well. Okay, we're going to ask for some overview questions at this point. And first of all, since this is being live fed on Facebook, Shannon, did we have any questions on Facebook? And while Shannon is doing that, if any of you have any other overview, big picture type questions, we'd ask that you walk around the back and come down to that microphone over there. We need to have you speak into the microphone so that the online users can hear. And the problem with the front is that there's so much equipment in the front that we don't want to get people tripping on cords. So Shannon, anything from the Facebook audience?
Sure, James. The quick question that we did have was westbound 26th Street to northbound 229. Was it considered to put a ramp directly from 26th Street onto 229? That was the only question that we had.
Okay, excellent. And that is a fantastic question. And if you didn't hear it, was there consideration for a ramp from westbound I-229 directly onto the interstate? This system is actually designed to allow for that to be added in the future. If it's warranted, at this point in time it wasn't warranted, but maybe 20 or 30 years out, we did design this facility so that it could add that ramp to go from westbound 26th Street directly onto I-229 northbound. Now during construction, that's really not an option, which is why we are basically not allowing that left turn from 26th Street onto the I-229 northbound on-ramp. Is that an adequate response there, Shannon?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And if you would, I guess you don't have to give your name really, but just speak into the microphone.
We live on Klondike Trail, and I can see your daughter traveling from 49th over to Klondike, shooting up Klondike to Cleveland, and then going down town. You haven't mentioned anything about Cleveland Avenue and the connection that Cleveland and Klondike has to Southeastern. We already are experiencing a lot of traffic coming from Sycamore, Bonson, Cleveland, They are coming down that road very rapidly, I might add. We have children in that area, and those cars are zooming down towards Southeastern. And right now, they're connecting so that they can go north. But I can see a lot of traffic heading between that area. That kind of concerns me. And is there any suggestions on what can be done? Either, like a live body laying on the road so that we have a speed bump, because that will happen. My grandson almost got hit on that road. A traffic light, I don't know, but I'm really concerned about that.
And that is such a valid point. And you notice that I didn't tell my daughter to go up the Klondike Trail up to Cleveland, which you are right. Technically, that could be done. Now, we are going to monitor that very closely, and if we have to close off that connection from Southeastern to Klondike, we may have to do that. At this point, we did not show that in the plans, but if we see that there is an issue with a lot of people doing basically a cut-through traffic, just like you're talking about, and we are certainly aware of that, we may have to take steps where we just not allow that movement at all off of Southeastern Avenue, which we could relatively easily do, because we do not want people using a lot of local streets to get to downtown. So does that help out? And it's something that we are very much aware of. That is a very valid point and a valid concern, and that's something we will watch very closely during construction to keep people off of these local streets, because that is a dangerous condition. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. You mentioned that City Hall was going to be monitoring the traffic lights, like live.
Yes.
Is it possible to have some type of Twitter account, Facebook account, notification account if there are accidents on these new roads that you'd like us to take? So we would know that there's an accident at Sycamore and 10th during this construction process. So if that's the alternate route I've chosen, this morning it's completely blacked up.
Boy, that is a very good point as well, and I don't have a total answer. I'm sure that's something we can work on. Shannon, is that something you could speak to?
Absolutely.
Thanks, that is a very excellent point. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that was great point. We definitely are exploring ways to get the word out to everyone here, Twitter accounts as well as Facebook. Certainly, your first point, though, is to get signed up for the weekly newsletters, because that's very important. So we will continue to work on that. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks you'll get more information to come, but that's a great point.
And that's Shannon Austin. I'm sorry I didn't introduce her. She's been part of this project from the start as well, although her hair did not turn gray like mine. Okay, thank you. Excellent questions. Appreciate those very much.
I have a couple of questions. You suggested maybe biking to work. Where is the furthest north point on Southeastern that you'll be able to get to the bike trail? Because you're closed from Klondike to Southeastern, or Klondike to 49th. So will you be able to get to the bike trail, say from Old Orchard Trail?
Yeah, you should be able to. There's really no restrictions on access to the bike trail, especially at the Paisley Park entrance. That would probably be the best place to get access to the bike trail, and possibly park in the Paisley Park parking lots there. But the Old Orchard Trail connection, that will not be impacted here with this very much.
Okay.
So that would be the furthest north point, I think, that you would be able to get to the bike trail. You can't really get to it close to Southeastern Avenue anyway, hardly now.
Right. So then on Bonson, you said you'd have a temporary light at 41st and Bonson?
That's correct. That's being installed as part of the
Anything else
project.
between 26th and 49th on Bonson?
No, we did not.
Because I mean, even now, it's hard to make a left-hand turn onto Bonson, like when school's starting.
Yeah. We don't intend on making any additional major improvements on Bonson, but people will use that as one of their routes as well. If Sycamore is backed up, they will use Bonson as one of the alternate routes. but we do not anticipate any other improvements on Bonson other than just that one signal at 41st Street.
All right, thanks.
Hi, so when northbound Southeastern is closed, I know there's like, or not closed, open to 2 lanes. I know there's like residential areas over there. Is there a way to like get easy access if you have to like turn left into those over there?
Yeah, good question. I'll back up one little bit to the businesses. There's a bunch of businesses at that corner of Southeastern and 26th Street, and those, for that 1 year of construction, they will have to get their access from Cleveland Avenue. And I know the one lady asked a question about Cleveland Avenue, and we're not really touching anything on Cleveland Avenue as part of this construction project. So the businesses that are right in that corner, like the IRS building, Social Security Administration, dental office, they will have to have their access from Cleveland Avenue. Okay, north of that, all of those residential properties, you will have access just on that 2-lane Southeastern Avenue. Now, when it's closed off, there will be very limited traffic on there. The only traffic that's really going to be on there is what's going to those residences. And we have made it a contract requirement that 2 lanes be maintained to the residential properties along the east side of Southeastern Avenue. Excellent. Does that help you out?
Yep.
Thank you. Boy, these are fantastic questions, and thanks for speaking into the microphone also so that everyone can hear them.
Greetings. Thank you. My name is Jason Muller. I'm an avid cyclist in the city of Sioux Falls, and I had 2 things to ask about. One is a comment, though, but thanks for mentioning about cycling through the bike trail as an opportunity to alleviate not just some of the traffic, but I wonder if we could get the Falls area bicyclists and the city to work together to say how long it would take to bicycle to downtown or to get from point A to point B. I'm sure they would be very approachable about putting that on their website and on the city's website. And I do feel for our communities where there's going to be on some streets where, like Klondike, Cleveland, Bonson. I have a recommendation. I read Jeff Speck's book on walkable cities, and one of the things that we should maybe consider is on the streets where we prefer the traffic not to go, that we would reduce it down to 15 miles an hour so that those streets that we do want the traffic to go down, they would be kept at the normal speeds. I know that would require a little bit of law enforcement, but when people are faced going at a 15-mile-an-hour speed down some streets, that would be helping to protect our children, because that's more important than any road. So thank you.
No, excellent points, and that certainly is a concern for all of us as traffic using those residential streets. And the point about the bikes, I'll bet you on some days, yes, I'll bet it would be a quicker commute to bike downtown than it would be to drive on these alternate routes. Yes, thank you very much. Next, please. Great questions, appreciate those.
Hi, my name is Glenda Breed, and I was wondering, did the contractor plan on doing any 4-hour work days, or are they just strictly going to do daylight? Because I know some places have done big constructions and projects, and they have done a 24-hour. They work around the clock to get done, to beat the weather or whatever other conditions there are. And is that something that is being considered, or is that a no?
Okay, the one time that there will be some nighttime work will be at the I-229 bridge. We're widening that bridge, and also at the new 26th Street bridge, where in those cases we are actually going to close down the interstate and close down 26th Street, and really to minimize the impacts, we will be doing those closures at night. And then the contractor will come in with some big cranes and lift these big beams into place. So in part, yes, there will be some nighttime work, but that's one of the reasons that we elected to go with a 2-year construction time frame, so that we would not force a contractor into that 24-hour or 2 or 3 shift construction zone. Now, that being said, is that a fair statement to our contractor here that we don't envision this 24/7 construction work? Okay, so he has confirmed that. Yes, That's one of the things that we considered to try and get this into a one-year construction time frame. The quicker we get this done, the less impact there is on people. But if you have the contractor working 24 hours a day, that's an impact to the people that are living around there as well. So yes, the time frame for construction work will generally be during daylight hours.
I have another quick question.
Sure, thank you.
The walking trail bridge that goes over, the one that's been installed, is that going to be the finished product? Not too impressed with that bridge. I've seen better. I know there's better.
Well, appreciate that. Even with the wave patterns, it's not that impressive. Thank you for your honesty. Nothing wrong with that. We talk about gray hairs. We can talk about things we don't like about the bridge. But yes, that is the finished product. And it's specifically designed to be low like that so you can get from one side of the river to the other. And as you saw in September of last year, that actually got water over the top of it. But it is designed for that. And it really is only for pedestrian use to get from one side of the Big Sioux River to the other. But pretty much what you see there, we tried to keep it as simple as possible. And the railings are probably the most ugly part of that bridge, those metal railings. But those were designed so that when we see a flood coming, that we can actually drop those down. They like hinge down. So we really couldn't do anything real fancy with those. And they also have like pins that if they are up and there's a flood that comes through very quickly, that if something hits them like a log or something, they will actually just break over. The railings will actually just fall down by themselves. So we were somewhat limited in what we could do. That's where you'd probably want to put something nice is on the railings. And if you saw on the 26th Street Bridge there, we really tried to do some nice things on the railings. But that, you are right. We were somewhat limited on that, and that's probably the least sightly part of the bridge. Is that a reasonable statement?
That explains that very well. Thank you. And I have one more comment about the gray hair. That's when you wear a cap.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hi, Anthony Pizer. Just a comment and a question. So first, the comment is I can tell a lot of thought went into this, and I just want to say thank you to you and your team for your consideration on this and improving.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So, thank you for that. The question, you mentioned the temporary light at 41st and Bonson as a kind of an overflow mechanism.
Yes.
Is there any way to make that permanent? And
yeah. A lot of times those temporary lights do end up being permanent, and I know that the city is looking at improving that intersection even more than just with a signal. But that's probably all I want to say about that. And typically those temporary signals do become permanent, and so that's a possibility here. It will have those span wires, the wood poles and the span wires, so it'll be somewhat unsightly. But boy, you see a lot of those around town where they work well, and so they just keep them in place. So that is a very good possibility. Don't know the answer for sure to that, but in a lot of places that is what happens.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for the compliment as well. These are fantastic questions. Appreciate that.
Hello, my name is Greg Boers. You mentioned various alternatives that people could use with regards to getting through the construction time. And one was arranging your schedule to, go at off times, at different times where traffic isn't as great. I'm just wondering, what has the city been doing or the project leadership been doing with employers to encourage the use of flexible time scheduling?
We have not really broached that subject or pushed that with the businesses, and I think it's once we start there, it's like how far do we take that? I think what will happen is that, boy, these employees for some of these larger businesses will just say, well, boy, it's very difficult to get here. Can you give us flexibility in some of the work hours? But to answer your question, no, we have not gone to any of the larger employers and asked if they could work with us on that.
I was interested that you talked about using the bike as an alternative to get around. What are the thoughts about improving our public bus system to help people get from place A to place B as an alternative if you don't want to have to carry an extra set of clothes with you?
Good question, and I think on these streets there really doesn't, what we're doing really doesn't impact any of the bus service. Doesn't the bus come on 26th Street and then north on Cleveland? So that option certainly is there, and we at this point do not envision having buses travel through the construction work zone. But that bus route that comes down 26th Street and goes up Cleveland, that would probably be a good way to get traffic through there. So that's a very good point. Thank you very much. And I think we'll follow up on that with Sioux Area Metro. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you too for the great job you've done. This looks like a very exciting project for a long time in the future for Sioux Falls. And related to that, you mentioned that 10th and Cleveland would be one of the alternate routes. And in the Sunday's paper, it mentioned that 10th and Cleveland is one of the third most serious situations for accidents as far as intersections go. And my concern is that there are left turn lanes on 10th Street going eastbound. There are left turn lanes coming from the north on Cleveland, from the south on Cleveland, and there are left turn arrows for those three directions. But when you're going westbound on 10th Street, I don't believe there is a left turn arrow. And I know coming over the hill on the eastbound, when you're going west, it makes it very dangerous to make that left turn onto Cleveland. And I think if we could put a left turn lane in there and a left turn arrow, that would certainly alleviate some of that problem.
Very good suggestion, and boy, believe me, I am very familiar with that intersection. For a couple of years I drove through that multiple times a day, and yeah, that's one of the reasons that when I showed you that example, we didn't show anyone going up Cleveland and then trying to make a left onto 10th Street. That is a very difficult intersection, 10th and Cleveland, and just getting through it on 10th Street is challenging enough, not yet trying to do turn movements at that intersection. So your point is well taken, and I guess all we can say is we will look into that. I don't remember if there's a left turn exclusive phase there or not, but that's part of what when I showed you the slide that the city is going to be making some traffic signal improvements, at least timing-wise, before the project and as the project moves on. So those are things that we'll continue to look at, and thanks for that specific suggestion.
You commented that there's 25 to 28,000 vehicles a day on 26th Street. And I'm guessing that'll cut about in half during the construction time. So that's going to put the cars on the 18th Street, 12th Street, and 10th Street, or a lot of them that are going back and forth. People coming from the west or back and forth that way. Is the traffic counts? I mean, there's schools on 12th Street and 18th Street. Is there any thought in what these streets can actually handle? Are you going to have to take parking off of some of these streets?
Yeah, we did analyze, where this rerouted traffic would go, and we specifically on the streets that you mentioned, like 12th Street and 18th Street, we do not want to take parking off, because then that just encourages more people to drive on there. 49th Street is another example where you've got, the John Harris Elementary School, and you've got the library and the swimming pools, and so we discourage, and that's why we didn't show it as an alternate route. We discourage people from taking those routes that are by the schools, and that's why we showed the alternate routes where they are at. It may take some additional enforcement, law enforcement along some of those, especially when people start driving fast, because if you're commuting, you're obviously going to try and just get through there as quickly as possible. So that's one of the things that we've had several meetings on already with the Sioux Falls Police Department in those meetings to say that, okay, we are going to, at the very least, have to strictly enforce the speed zones on the streets just that you are talking about. So that is one specific thing, is that we will see an increased law enforcement presence on those streets to alleviate just what you're talking about.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just have a question. Has there been any consideration into possibly adjusting the start time for the schools? Because I know when there's no school over the holidays, traffic flows so much better. So just wondering, like, even if they bumped it back a half an hour, if that would help the flow of the commute to work.
And I'm going to let Shannon answer that, because we've been working with the school district specifically on some of those questions.
Yep, we have had meetings with the school district. All of the elementary schools have been notified and are aware of what's coming up. You know, it's hard for them to change the elementary school times because parents are used to dropping their kids off at the same time. So, but they have noticed, or they will open up the schools earlier. Some of our schools will open it at 7 versus 7:30 to allow for that earlier drop-off, and then at the same time in the afternoon. So the schools are aware and they are accommodating. So we have time for just a couple more questions.
And by the way, these questions are 100 times better than the presentation was, that's for sure. And we're going to bring back that slideshow. For those of you that couldn't come at the start, we'll bring that back, that scrolling slideshow that showed the final product after the presentation. Yes, go ahead, sorry.
And I also wanted to know, when it's down to just one lane each way, like, is it possible from like 7 till 8 in the morning that it's only westbound traffic coming from the east? And then again on the way home, if you change the time so it's only eastbound when we get off of work?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we also looked at early on, and boy, that becomes very confusing for traffic as well, to try and to basically change those traffic directions. And so we elected to just keep it as one lane in each direction. And I'm going to give you an analogy very briefly, but in 2017, Louise Avenue was rebuilt from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes. Traffic volumes on Louise Avenue were actually higher than 26th Street, and we got through that. So it's been done before, and I'm sure if many of you drove through the area on Louise Avenue by the Empire Mall, it was very similar where there were that many vehicles every day on a 4-lane street. We reduced it to 2 lanes, and just like the gentleman said, the traffic volumes were about half, and the alternate routes that people used were Minnesota Avenue, Western Avenue, and come on, what's the one on the west side there? Pardon me? Marion Road, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know that area like the back of my hand. But no, we elected to just keep it 1 lane in each direction. Very difficult to try and do 2 lanes one direction and then switch it during peak hours. Yes, go ahead.
I have one question and one observation. First question would be, at the 10th and 229 to getting on southbound, has your project factored in the congestion that will probably be affected with that?
10th and 229, the southbound at the ramp?
Yep.
Let's see.
It's a single lane as well.
Right, and it will, that's really all the room that there is there, and it will stay a single lane. And I think that's one of those cases where the timings can be adjusted somewhat, but that will be a place where you might have to sit through 2 or 3 cycles, and it will seem like forever. That's going to be one of the challenges in this system. The other thing that we showed on the map was 57th Street. You know, that's not a bad route either. And I told my daughter, you might want to go all the way down to 57th Street and then over to Cliff, and then get onto the I-29 at Cliff, and then go through the 10th Street interchange to get to downtown. That probably would not be a bad route either. And then you're on interstate as well. So.
And the other observation is, on your new iteration on the top, whenever you're going to go southbound on 229, it appears that you have 2 lanes to take a left turn there, but it appears you have a barrier in the middle. My concern would be that there's going to be traffic backed up into that single lane and people trying to zipper in, as there already is that problem. So I'm just wondering what.
Okay, so this movement right here,
Yep.
this turn here, The 2 lanes will neck down to 1 lane eventually before you get onto 229. It will neck down to 1 lane.
Sure.
But you won't have to make that additional turn. Now you get onto Jaeger Road, then you have to make another turn onto.
Where
the
I'm
ramp.
talking about it backing up though is on the 26th Street
Yeah,
portion.
these guys right here. Well, that's why
As
we
you're
went with,
westbound.
yeah, that's why we went with 2 left turn lanes. And according to the analysis that we did, we should have enough storage space there, but that's definitely why we had to go to 2 left turn lanes here. And there could be times when, yes, that might back up onto the ramp and cause this movement to back up, but according to our analysis, not a big problem.
I'm concerned about a little different area that's going north on Cliff Avenue.
You want to speak into the mic a little bit more?
That's going north on Cliff Avenue and trying to go west on 229. That is quite congested now, and with this extra traffic getting off there, people won't be able to make a left-hand turn onto 229.
Right in our backyard here at Lincoln High School. Yes, we are all very well aware of that as well. And what we'll find is if that doesn't work, people just will not be taking that route. But you are right, that will become potentially somewhat even worse than it is now. And I think people will eventually just say, okay, I'm going to find another route than that one. But that is the way it is.
Is it possible to put a light there on the 229 exit or entrance?
Well, I'm not sure. And specifically, you're talking at 41st Street then?
No, on Cliff, turning onto 229 going west.
Yes.
If you're going north, it's almost impossible during the rush hour.
That's absolutely true. And actually, there was a public meeting here just a couple of weeks ago to improve that whole interchange so that improves it. But that won't be done, obviously, in the time frame we're talking about here. I don't have a good answer for you. That is a difficult intersection, and when school gets out and during the rush hour, that is almost impossible to get through there. And we don't have a good solution for how to make that better at this point in time. And I don't know that an additional light would really help us out there. The 1 light is about all that we can handle at that configuration.
Okay.
Thank you.
And one more here.
Hi, I'm just concerned about the noise. I actually live on 26th Street. What are the hours for construction?
And like I said, would be mostly daylight hours. And I believe that the city, the contractor gets a special permit. If he is beyond, what is the time that if it's beyond, they have to get a special permit? And is it 9 o'clock? 9 or 10 o'clock. So that would take some special consideration.
Okay.
And again, that's why we went with the 2-year time frame so that we weren't forced into that kind of a scenario. If it does come to that, like I say, it takes a special permit by the city, and you'd probably have opportunity to voice your concern about that at that time. But yes, construction noise is certainly a concern.
And it starts at dawn?
Sometimes it will, and I think as a matter of fact, though, that's one of the reasons that we would have those weekly construction meetings, and we would ask for participation at those if it becomes really obnoxious for you to come and voice those concerns at the weekly construction meetings. And if you're hearing too much noise, then come to those and let us know that that's a problem.
Okay, I'm just anticipating too that there might be a need for more police presence on 26th Street. In the evenings in the summer especially, we get a lot of noise that backs up, and if there's only 2 lanes, I can see that being a headache, but I will check in at the meetings.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. This is fantastic questions. Thank you for coming. And yeah, there's displays out there, and we'll have this slideshow going on here yet. And appreciate your coming. Oh, and if you want to see these displays, check out the city's website and make sure to sign up for the construction bulletins on the city's website as well. And make sure to take a handout when you leave as well. Thanks for coming tonight.